All right, so at pick 45, the Lions go out and get Brian Branch, a safety who I had a first-round grade on. I actually had a top half of the first-round grade on him. I think a lot of why he fell is positional value. Not only is he a safety, but more of a strong safety type player who, is someone who definitely, I think that maybe the NFL doesn't value incredibly highly. Maybe they don't know exactly how much value there is in a player like that. And listen, the Lions don't need a safety. They have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They have Kirby Joseph. But you know what? You could use an extra safety. Like, sure, okay, maybe Tracy Walker can come in and play a little whatever. You're okay. Get another safety. And he's a player who can do unique things, very similar to, I think, the Ravens drafting Kyle Hamilton last year. I don't see that as too dissimilar of a scenario where if you put Brian Branch in position to succeed, maybe even have him just straight up play linebacker to start off if you want to, because that's kind of his role. Clearly, that's an area that they felt like they needed to improve upon with the Jack Campbell selection and now Brian Branch as sort of that nickel / strong safety role. I think he could be really good in that role. So I really like this selection, actually, even though maybe some people aren't going to love it as much. They did also trade up to make it happen. But I think he's a really good player. And I think that this is, my old expression is, don't let a day 2 of the draft go by without at least selecting one wide receiver or safety. So you got the safety in the books because typically you can get some really good safeties in round 2 just because the NFL doesn't value that position very highly. But I think it's a bit undervalued. I think someone like Brian Branch adds a ton of value to the Lions, and I think he'll be a really good player for them. Even if it's not a massive need right now, at least in future years, it should really work out. I really like him. So that's my thoughts on the pick, but now let's talk about why I like the player. So first, let's start off with some PFF grades. And you definitely see that this is kind of a one-year wonder type prospect, if you believe in this stuff. And I do have to say, at the safety position, this stuff does translate pretty well to the NFL. It's not the best thing to look at like it is with some other position groupings, but for safeties, it still does work. And you see it, an 89.5 grade, that's very good. The coverage and run defense grades were fantastic. So definitely a lot of very good statistics on his side right here. Going over to the tape, though, let's see how good is his tape actually. How much different things can he do? And actually, that's maybe my favorite thing about Branch is it just feels like he can do so many different things. He feels like a complete safety who checks every single box. Like if you need him to blitz, for example, he can do that. Watch what he's going to do here. He's the one who I've circled in black, obviously, and watch what happens. Watch how quickly he's able to get over there, and he is able to create contact to the quarterbacks. That's a really good play, and these are the kind of things that he does. He just, every little thing you need him to do, he's able to accomplish, and that's what I like about him. I also think he's just a smart player, like especially patrolling over the middle of the field. I do get some Kyle Hamilton vibes from him when he's in that role, where what's going to happen is, this is the concept on the screen. It's called cover one robber, where you have one safety staying deep, another safety covering over the middle, and then man coverage everywhere else across the board. That is where the route that eventually the ball is going to be thrown is. And Brian Branch, he's the safety covering the middle of the field. So that circle over the middle, that's his job. That's where he's supposed to cover. And you can notice that, okay, this route could eventually get there, but it's going to take some time to get there. So there will be an opportunity for the quarterback to make the throw before the receiver gets over to where Branch can make a play. Right when this play begins, you see that at this point, it's open enough. There's a bit of a window to make this throw, but here's where things get interesting. That's how the quarterback is playing this. Look at how he's just staring down this receiver, which, kind of makes some sense. It's a quick throw. You got to make sure it's open, but Branch is going to notice this. That's where Branch is, and if Branch wasn't paying attention to the quarterback, which, it's his job to pay attention to the quarterback, but not every player always does that, and if he was maybe looking around, looking to see who's open, that kind of stuff, then perhaps he wouldn't have noticed this, and maybe he wouldn't have been able to do what he's about to do. Watch him do a great job of breaking in, and he is going to deliver a hit that helps knock that football out. That's a really good read from Branch, and that's, again, what I like about him is he tends to do that stuff very well. Something like this is another very interesting one, I think, where what's going to happen on this play is, again, it's not just coverage when he's covering the middle of the field doing that stuff. Sometimes it's just him straight up playing man coverage like what's happening here. It's actually a 3-safety coverage on this play. If Branch is a safety here, he's playing man, whereas 2 other safeties are further deep. So, okay, anything deep down the field, you'll have help there, although still don't want to give someone wide open deep down the field, but you don't have to be as afraid about that. You see the route that Branch is covering, though, is one that's going to kind of be right underneath that safety who's deep to the offense's right, so towards the bottom of the screen, so therefore it could potentially get open. Watch how when this play begins, you see how Branch at this point, I think does a really good job of just understanding his own athleticism and understanding how far behind he can get in this situation. He knows he has help deep, so if he gets burned further deep, if the receiver runs further deep, well, now you're just throwing it to a safety, essentially, which you don't want to do. If you throw it underneath, well, then Branch is there. So Branch is essentially forcing the quarterback on this play to make an absolutely perfect throw and probably forcing the receiver to make a great catch as well. On top of this, look at how he closes out and makes a great play on the ball to knock it away. I mean, that's a good cornerback style play that he's making as a safety, and I do think that he's someone who you'll see this a decent amount in the NFL. He will play some one-on-ones, and they do, I'm assuming if you draft him partially because you trust him to be able to make those types of plays, which I certainly trust him to make those types of plays. You also have stuff like this where it's going to be a one-on-one matchup. I think this is a very interesting play. Let's just play it out. Watch what happens. The receiver on this play is going to make a good move, I would say, to try to get by Branch, but he does a good job of hanging with him, and essentially the only way that throw would have worked, that play would have worked, is, again, great throw and great catch, which in today's football, that's good defense. I mean, there is no such thing as a true lockdown corner, or in this case, lockdown safety, right? Because a perfect throw and perfect catch can still beat great coverage. But what you want is to make them have to do that consistently. The odds are they're not. Even if it's Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce, they don't do that consistently. They do it every now and then, right? Forcing them to have to fit the ball through a mailbox every time is just great defense. And again, understanding the situation, understanding you have safeties deep, so you don't have to worry too much about getting burned deep and being more worried about getting burned over the middle, which is what Branch was doing on that play. He just has a good understanding of not just what he can do, but also what his teammates can do and what the situation is. So he checks every box. Really good run defender. I didn't get into that too much in the film study, but definitely great at that as well. So just a really talented player, and I think really will work in the NFL. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? What are your thoughts on Brian Branch? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.